at the end of the day, it's just people, and like you should not romanticize, and like you should just find someone that like just like balances you out, like even if they're from like the other side of the world or anything, like if it goes with your morals, if it goes with what you like fight for or like you want in a relationship, that's like the person you should go for regardless
of where they come from.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Work in Progress. I am your host, Barbara Estrada, and I'm here with the lovely
Maria Fernanda Mafe.
So I will refer to you in the episode as Mafe. So Mafe and I met now almost 4 years ago when we first both moved into Germany in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. And through the power that is social media, I don't know which Facebook group it was, honestly, because I was in many. But that's how we met, and we've always kept this lovely friendship. And I think we have a lot of things in common that we've talked about when it comes to our immigration experience over here. And this is why we're here today, to talk about this topic of the romanticization of Europe.
So I think I met you on a Facebook group, and like we both came here in the pandemic, and we were alone, and we didn't have anything to do. And I think like for me, I also had like I came also from another immigration background because I used to study in the US, and like going into like a completely different immigration from the US to like now Germany was like a crazy experience. And we both were like trying to figure out those like visa problems. Somebody, when you come here like that, you need to register, and everything was just like really difficult for us.
I think even like, I mean, I would love to hear at some point in this conversation just how that process was like for you in the US, but I could definitely have a lot of empathy now that I've been through this experience in Germany for immigrants anywhere around the world of having to start over again. It's not easy, and this is why I wanted to just like lift the veil from this whole like these TikTok real videos that you see of like summer in Europe, and these like TikTok girls or whatever that they just like start posting like these like highlight reels of moments of like Aperol spritz here and like this like magical secluded beach in the Mediterranean there, and
you know that it's like, of course you have those moments, but normally it's just not like that.
And that's definitely like a moment. It's not like day-to-day living.
I mean, I think we saw one yesterday of Munich, specifically like summer in Munich, like it's amazing, but like
that's not the reality.
It's not how it looked like yesterday at English Garden. Like, it was really, really full.
Exactly. So we're going to get into that. But I guess like the first thing that I have here as a topic that I wanted to ask you is the topic of racism as in this point of view as a Latina from your perspective. On the episode or on the podcast, I had Lucky, and if those who aren't aware of this episode, he talks about his experience as a Black man in Germany. So I would love to hear about your experience as a Latina in Germany and kind of what you've experienced.
I mean, for me, the racism that I experienced in the US was completely different to the racism that I experienced here. Of course, I'm a white presenting person, so I am white passing, but in the US, it was mostly because of like this xenophobia that they had, like, oh, please, like, don't talk Spanish, go back to your country. Here is mostly like an immigration as a whole, like anybody that is an immigrant in my experience in Germany, it's considered less. And I had experiences where mostly as a Latina, you get fetishized, I think that's the right word. And it's just like, oh, you're so hot just because I am from Colombia, which like it varies personality to personality, it varies from nationality to nationality. We are not all the same. We're all completely different cultures, like from Central American to like South American and like even different languages. And for me, that's what bothered me the most, like how German men or European men see Latinas in like, oh, this exotic person that it's gonna like make me dance or whatever, like this dream that they have. So that was like the biggest thing for me. In the US, I experienced that also a lot, but it was different, I think, because there's more Latinos there, so like people know already kind of the culture. But for me here was like crazy, like just like how Germans would just talk about Latinas in that sense, like. And
is there a particular moment that you could remember?
Yeah, I mean, for example, like in dating apps, as soon as like they see like the first thing, like, oh, you come from Colombia, oh, get me some spicy Latina. Like, that's so many comments that I have heard like that. And it's like, you don't even know me. Like, what if I'm an introverted person and I'm like, don't even like to dance, or like, or what if I grew up in another country? That doesn't define me.
Yeah.
So those are like these specific things. Besides that, also I have experience here, like, I think a month ago, I was waiting on the bus station here in Munich, and there was this white guy, and I was talking Spanish on my phone, and I was talking with my mom, and he just like went in front of me, and he started like telling me Ausländer raus.
Ew.
So
okay, wait, for those that don't know German, can we define this word?
Ausländer raus is like, get out of here, immigrants, kind of like that.
Ew.
And he kept like yelling at me that, and like
out of random, just cause.
Yeah. And like he was like in front of me, and he just kept telling me Ausländer raus, Ausländer raus. And like I was like, and people were around me, and nobody did anything. Nobody even cared that he was like yelling at me that. And this man was like, what, 180 and 150, 155.
Yeah.
And like I was really angry, and I was like, what do you mean? What do you want? I was telling him in German, but he just kept like intimidating me until he then left with the bus. But those are the experiences that you get here. And again, I'm a white presenting person. I don't even imagine like as
somebody who's like darker skinned or looks more indigenous.
Yeah. Also, I heard like also in clubs here, like if you are more dark, like they sometimes don't let you in, like that.
Oh, I remember you told me that about a club here in Munich that you had gone to.
Yeah.
That was like for Latinos or something, and they were being selective.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say the name of the club, but it happened, and like we were like a group of 10 Latinas or Latinos, and like the guys that were darker skinned, they didn't let them in, and like the other girls, they let us in, and it was out of random. And that happened to me also in Stuttgart, the same experience. Oh, wow. And like the guys were Portuguese also, but I imagine because they were so darker skinned, they didn't let them in.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I actually want to talk about an experience that I had about this topic of racism, because although it didn't happen to me here in Munich, although there must be an incident, but one that really comes to mind because it was so like, this is going to live rent free in my head, is when I was on my way to Valencia and I had like a layover in Mallorca. Yeah. So I was leaving from Munich to Mallorca, and if anybody knows, Mallorca is like an extension of Germany. Germans love to go there. Yeah. And I took like a night flight or something like that. And I'm sitting on an aisle seat. I prefer aisle seats. And I remember when I was sitting there, we were all waiting to take off. There was a guy next to me who looked very like, I guess the equivalent of like what you would consider a redneck in the US. Okay. But the guy was like Austrian, I think. But anyway, so then comes a man in a tan suit, super fitted, which did not suit his body. Not body shaming, but like he was like super tall, had like, he looked like Trump's cousin. His face was like so red and puffy. He came drunk to the plane. Oh God. And I guess, of course, he had to sit in my aisle. But because he came last, literally the last person, I probably rushed to come to the flight. And then he tells me something in German, and I could put two and two together, and I could understand that he was trying to tell me to move. Yep. But I'm like, this is my assigned seat. So I'm like, no, I'm not moving. And especially because I'm one tiny petite girl amongst two big men, I'm not doing that. So I'm not taking the middle seat. I don't care. Yeah. And then he tells me to move, and I was like, no. And I remember I said something else more in English. And then I looked at the flight attendant because she was right behind him. And I go to her because at this point he didn't want to like talk to me. He was being aggressive. And I was talking to her. I was like, I'm not moving. She's like, you don't have to. And then he tells me, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from the U.S. Yeah. And he's like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, we don't want you here. You need to get out.
And you're in Mallorca.
No, we hadn't even left, technically, Germany. Okay,
but still.
We're going to Mallorca, and it was crazy, because, like, this interaction, I was like, and I remember, like, everyone around us was like, what the fuck? And then I remember in the corner of my eye, there was a girl on the other side of the plane, right? So we were on this side. On the other side, her jaw just dropped. It was a German girl, I remember, and she was like so like shocked. And then I remember like she even made sure to check up on me, saying like, "Are you okay?" Yeah. And like I was really more like unfazed and yes, still shocked at the fact that this just happened in front of everybody. And I go to the guy, I'm like, "I'm not moving." and you could take your xenophobia to the left. Like, go. Crazy.
And these are the Germans that go to Mallorca and then they expect people to just talk to them in German.
Yeah.
To have German food, to like that, to
accommodate to them.
To accommodate to them, exactly.
Yeah.
This I'm in shock that happened to you. But also like I remember also like a couple of months ago also something similar happened to me in Stuttgart. Like I don't speak super good German, but I understand. And like I was walking through the station and a guy stopped me and he asked me something but really quick and I couldn't understand because the dialect sometimes is difficult.
It's
like
hard,
Schwäbisch is difficult. And like I was like, huh? Entschuldigung? And he was like, oh, Scheiße Auslander, you don't even learn our language. And then he left. And I was like, I was gonna help you. I just didn't understand what you were asking me.
What the hell?
It's crazy. Sometimes people here are unhinged. And I think that's the biggest difference. Like in the US, I had experience because I lived in the South where people also were super unhinged. But the aggressive, like the people here are more aggressive than in the US for those things. And I hate when Germans always like to compare that the racism in the US is so much bad. Like it's worse than here. It's so much bad. Sorry. Yeah. It's worse than here. Yeah. When actually, no, it's completely different types. But like here, it's so aggressive. Like if they don't like you, they don't let you in. They don't let you sit in the restaurant. And like, yeah, you have to see for yourself. In the US, I have never seen that. Like where like people have been that aggressive to me at least. It's crazy.
It's interesting because I think obviously I'm sure to those that are watching they might be thinking like, you know, I'm sure pop off in the comments your experiences, whether you're in Germany or in the US of what we're talking about. But it is a shame. I think there needs to be some sort of accountability from a social level for these kinds of things because that shouldn't be allowed. And I wish people were a bit more like forthright in seeing like when you see something like that, like you shouldn't be like afraid to say something. Because I think whenever I've witnessed something like that, whether it be a hate crime or a racist interaction here in Germany, I think maybe once I saw somebody like step in and say like, hey, back off. Yeah. But that's one of many, right? And I wish it was a bit more.
It's always like that. So normalized. Many times I've seen like the trains, like they just stop like some black person or like Arabian person or like they start like interrogating them about their ticket. And it's like, even though they have the ticket, they are just like, checking 500 times if they actually have the ticket, and it's just like it's so on the nose. Like we know what you're doing. Yeah. It's crazy to me. Yeah. That I think that's one point of the romanticization of Europe. Yeah. It's not that, I don't know, people are not that, at least here in Germany, as open-minded as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, well, and I think also it's probably not even exclusive to Germany per se. I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt it also extends to other parts of Europe as well. Yeah, exactly. So we have to make that very clear. It's not a German problem. Okay, so the other thing that I also wanted to touch on with you is like, because I know you went to university here. Yeah. You got your master's, so talk a little bit more about that and like, is it really worth studying in Germany to get ahead in life here?
Okay, I only can speak on my experience because I studied in a private university here in Germany, so already that here is kind of looked down.
Really? Looked down?
Yeah, because like here, like the more, like the better universities are the ones that are private. They're public, sorry. And they have more, prestige, let's say it. Mm. There's two types of universities. There's the Hochschule and the university. I went to a Hochschule because it's more practical. Mm-hmm. So basically, like, you work with more companies and everything, but there's still kind of, here in Munich mostly, like this kind of classism where, like, if you didn't go to university like TUM or like to LMU, then like, oh, you really didn't went to university, you know? Still doesn't count for like employers. They don't care because at the end of the day, like the kind of education system in Germany is pretty standardized. Mm-hmm. So everybody studies the same. Everybody has like this
get a good sense of education.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But the biggest difference for me here and the biggest shock is that you don't have exams. So, at all. You just have one exam at the end of the semester for your class, and that's so scary because if you fail your exam, then like you fail your class. And I hated that because in Colombia it's the same, in the US it's the same. You have your class, like you have different exams, like you have your midterms, you have like sometimes quizzes, you have the finals, and then you can like, if you did bad in your midterm, you always can like do extra credit or something to help your grade. Mm-hmm. And here is like, okay, either you learn that or or it's or yeah, you're basically done. And I really hated that, because like how can you, like, I don't know, you learn progressively, you can just don't learn like everything in a semester, just, and it shouldn't be yourself valued just by one exam. And yeah, for career wise, I think it's really important sometimes to have a European, even German degree here. I think like the people that I know that don't have German degrees or European degrees struggle more to find a job because of the credibility. Even though you went to like prestigious schools in Colombia and everything, like they don't care.
No, even also in the US, I have to say, unless you went to like a Harvard or a Yale, or like an Oxford or a Cambridge, like, yeah, there's no true understanding of like the meaning of your education.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I went to the university in the US. That helped a little bit on my credibility also, because I have a US degree and a German degree, so it's kind of okay, like my CV looks good.
Yeah.
But if I wouldn't have my German degree, I think I would struggle so much more to find anything, any job, or like even an interview.
100%. No, I agree. I think also like even with myself when I was like navigating applying to jobs here, that was something that like didn't come easy, just because I'm an American, just because I have an American education, like that doesn't matter. So disclaimer to those that are watching or listening. I think it's humbling up to an extent, because at least it brings down like the ego a bit, to understand that, you know, let's just say, at least that's from as an American perspective, you're not any better than anyone else.
But also like how like they value education regarding if you're from the global south or the north, because like there's really really good universities like in Colombia, I would say, and in Latin America, like people that universities in Latin America are harder, I would say. Like people study a lot. Like there's classes that my friends were telling me, like they start at 7 a.m. and sometimes they stay the whole day. And like you have to work a lot in Colombia for like getting good grades and like graduating, you know. But it's here, just because you have a Colombian degree, it's not like it doesn't matter. They really don't value that, and they think that the education there is not good, which is totally not true. Like I would say the education there, like at least in like the private schools, it's so much better. People like are really hard workers and like really really smart. So
did you have to do something where you had to like at least here in the, for some people when they're getting their work visas, like validate your degree, so it's like an equivalent to something?
But that's the thing,
because I know sometimes they ask.
Because I had a German degree. If you have a German degree, then like they don't care. But like I know, and if you have an American degree, normally they don't make you validate it. But if you have a Colombian degree or an Indian degree or somewhere from the global south, they really have to check that actually your education is good enough, and you have to validate it, and you have to like double check it, and like, because it's this like double standard that they have.
That's a shame. Really, it's really a shame. So the other thing that I wanted to also bring up to you, though, I think also the other thing that we were going to talk about was like comparing the education from the US to Germany. I guess like what are some major differences or similarities?
Okay, so I would say the education in the US, and I'm sorry.
She's preparing me for a roast.
Even if it's in university, it's really easy.
Really easy. You know, I have heard this from some people, like some of my like European friends, when they did their exchange for at my university at the business school, they were all like, this was easy.
I'm in shock about how like, of course I worked for my degree, but I really didn't have to work that much for my degree as compared here, or as compared like if I would have studied in Colombia.
Really?
Yeah.
So can you explain like what is it that you studied in both your bachelor's and your master's?
Yeah, I did arts administration and theater. I did a double degree. Theater was really hard actually, because you have to work a lot for it. Like they really prepare you for, like, if you're gonna enter show business, at least you are basically working for your theater department. You have to do a lot of stuff, you have to wake up early, you have to like participate in shows. So for me, that was the hardest part. But when I was doing my arts administration degree, that is basically a business degree but focused on arts, in my experience, my marketing classes, my math classes, or like the core studies that you have the first 2 years, like you have to do the biology class and everything, for me they were really easy. I don't know if it was my education in Colombia. I was really privileged, and like they prepared me really good for it, but I had calculus 1 and I had college algebra, and I really didn't have to study much for these like classes. And I'm good in math, but not that good. And I was in shock seeing my classmates that they were like also my age or even older struggle with college algebra when there were things that I studied when I was like, I don't know, 13, 14, and they were struggling with equations that we did so long ago. And I was like, okay, like the education here, the standard is really, really low. Like you learn this basic stuff in university. In I feel like in the US in high school you don't learn that. And that was a shock for me. And in Germany, as I was mentioning, the difference is like here you have to study a lot the whole semester, and like you can like even skip lectures and everything. They don't care. But it at the end of the day, it's on you. And if you have a bad lecturer, or you have someone that like doesn't explain really good, then like you can really do bad on your last exam. And for me, that was really hard. I really didn't like that system, as I mentioned, because I prefer having like different like little steps that I know I'm working on, than like just like studying so much and like going to lectures and learning, because I feel like you don't get reinforced that. But that's like for me, like
yeah, it works. Yeah, I mean, it's a preference that you have and it works for you, and that's what you like. I will say, because hearing the talk about you, that specific example of like people that you met at university that were struggling with college algebra, which were equations that you were working on when you were in high school. I think the thing with like the US, it's so big, it's not so standardized. Like it's all really depends on like the state, the county. It's a bunch of factors that are taken into account. Because sometimes you'll have like really smart people in certain pockets of the US, and especially if you came from like the city versus coming from like a rural town, like there's a lot of factors that play into it. So yeah, that's something that I really wanted to clarify, because I feel like when I was in high school, there was a lot of things that was offered to me that I then later realized that not everybody had the access to that sort of, let's say, education. Whether that be it for AP, which to those that don't know, AP is like advanced placement. So when you are in high school, you are given the option to take these like more advanced placement type of classes. And if you do pass at the end of the class, this like big exam, you get like a college credit equivalent. So then when you go to college, you don't have to you don't have to take that class, whether that be at Spanish, whether that be at AP World History, AP Spanish, AP, I don't know, macroeconomics, whatever, like these kinds of classes. But yeah, and also within even the same like city, that also varies, depends on the neighborhood, because if you come from a low income neighborhood versus a middle class or a higher class neighborhood, you're gonna get a better education. It sucks, it's sad, but it is the reality.
And I think that's the biggest difference here in Germany. Everything's really standardized. So it doesn't matter which neighborhood you're going. Like, at the end of the day, you're gonna get, like, pretty good education.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and you're gonna have exactly the same chances if you work... No, I wouldn't say exactly the same chances, but most of the time you have really good chances to go into a university. And if you don't want to go to university, you have the Ausbildung, that is like basically like this like apprenticeship. And everybody does fine here, and I really like that from Germany. You have so many options to be a professional, to work in the career that you want, because like education is pretty standardized. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in a small town, you're gonna have exactly the same chances as someone in a bigger city. In like high school or like for university. So for me, that was the biggest shock, like in the US. And here my classmates were all like I think here everybody was on the same level. But again, I went to a private school, so I don't know. I can only say from my classmates in like that, like my classmates, like my friends that were in TUM or like in LMU, it's really hard and really competitive, and people are really sometimes like lecturers are not that good, and like you have to basically study for yourself, and that sometimes it sucks, because like you want to learn, you're paying, you're going to university to get your degree, and like at the end of the day, just one exam counts.
So shifting gears, because this is a bit of now the interesting, funny type of topic that we all love to get into, and that is of the magical world of dating for those single ladies, single men, single anybody who doesn't identify as either. Maybe you are identifying as a banana. Who the hell knows? Tell me about this. Tell me How has your experience been like? And also because I see a lot of things on the internet talking about how it's so much better to date a European man.
No.
Well, that's
Sorry.
there's the answer. Explain to me how that's been like, because I have also my fair share of experiences, but I want to hear yours.
No, but I want to say like I dated a guy, a German guy for 5 years.
Yeah.
He was amazing. He was a really good guy. And because he was really open-minded to my culture. And I think that's the most important thing. If you date an European or like somebody that is out of your culture, they need to be open as well as yourself
to
course. Learn both of cultures and find common grounds. But of course, there's a lot of cultural shocks, a lot of like discussion and miscommunications because of how you would say some stuff in your country or in your language. When you translate it to English or another language, it doesn't sound the same and can be rude, or like they are more blunt, and like these little things sometimes can actually really, really take a toll on your relationship if you don't realize it. But besides that, I also think, going back to this romanticization of Europeans, I hear so many Latinas saying like, and like putting on a pedestal foreign guys, and for me that's crazy, because at the end of the day, people are just people. Yeah. And foreign guys, going back to the fetishization of Latinas, sometimes they don't date you, they don't see you as a person, they see you as just
an object,
an exotic being. And you could have, I've seen so many cases of like Europeans going, or like passport bros going.
Passport bros?
Yeah, you know, like
what
those
is that?
Passport bros are like the guys that would go to like normally global south countries to just like find a wife.
Oh yeah, that's what they're called.
Yeah, they're called passport bros.
But like no, but is that like who's calling them that? Like the women that want these kind of guys, or the guys themselves?
No, I think it's like a Urban Dictionary kind of like,
okay.
You know.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So like passport bros are like, you see so many of them going there thinking like,
I've seen, oh my god, wait, stop. I've seen videos like that where it's like this, like, for example, I don't know, some blonde dude that's walking down the streets of Colombia, and all the women are like fawning, and then he's like looks back at the camera like, yeah, I'm hot shit.
Yeah, those are passport bros.
God.
And like that's the thing, they're like average looking here.
Yeah.
Or even below average looking, but just because they're
like
blonde,
mid. It's giving mid.
Just because they're blonde and blue-eyed, then like
girls fawn.
Girls in Latin America just like put them on a pedestal and think they're gonna get treated better. It's like maybe some internalized kind of, I don't know, colonization or like savior complex that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
White savior complex. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think you've seen so many cases of women that come here with the promise, Latinas coming here with the promise that they were gonna have a better life with their like European husband.
Spouse,
and they end up in situations that are completely abusive.
Yeah.
Completely abusive with the worst kind of guys. And it happens so often that, of course, worst case scenarios, these girls get killed or like bad, or like they get trafficked. You know?
Domestic violence is a real thing.
Or domestic violence. And recently, actually, there was this like girl that I met. She's from Chile. She came here for like also love, and she met this dude, and basically like they were living together, and out of nowhere he broke up with her, and he just like threw her out of his house.
Threw her?
Yeah. She was
homeless. He was German?
He was German.
Wow.
No feelings, no care for her. I literally met her over like a Latino group because she was struggling, and I was like, if you really need anything, come to my house. I feel so bad for her, for this woman, like, and this is not even the worst case scenario, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you come here, like this romanticization that guys, because they're Europeans or Germans, are gonna be better to you. It's not true. Mostly because a lot of them don't even see you as a person. They see you
as an object.
Like this exotic flower that I can pick up and like, I can do whatever.
Throw around. Yeah. That's so sad. But yeah, I mean, I believe, you know, like, I can't really think of a specific example of somebody like that, but like you do hear stories like that a lot of the time. And I think even I saw somewhere in some sort of study, and I think it was posted by like Deutsche Welle, about like saying like, I don't know what number it was, and I don't want to like butcher this this statistic, but it was like 1 out of 4 men or something in Germany think like domestic violence is like okay.
Yeah, 1 on 3 wasn't
that insane? Like I was like,
yep.
this is, at the time, it was like 2022 or something like that. I'm like, we are beyond this. Yeah. Way beyond this. And this is like coming from people not of like, you would think like of an older generation, but like millennials. Younger. It was millennials that participated in the study.
1 in 3 is crazy. 1 in 3 is like...
insane.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to find it. I'm going to find it.
That's, for me, was scary to think that like in Germany, guys are okay with like domestic violence. And or like they would like not consider abuse like hitting your partner or like doing or or like abusing them verbally.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
That for me was also like really, really scary to think. And like like so you see all this like romanticization of like girls. Also, we were talking with my friend yesterday about his friend. He's German.
You got it right. 1 in 3 German men find violence against women acceptable, according to the survey by Plan International Germany. Nasty.
So, men are just men. Every corner of the world.
So nasty. That's disgusting.
And going back to this like romanticization, I was talking with my friend Juan about sorry to name drop you, but like about a friend of him that like he went to Colombia.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. Like the guy, I'm sorry, was not even that attractive or anything, but just because he was German, he would get like 60 matches in his like Bumble just so because strange. He was German. It's crazy to me. Like, he was an average looking man, and like so many more like better looking Latino men are like just like get passed on just because they're Latino, or like they get treated like differently. Also with girls, I would say the same. Like not just like guys in Latin America, also like idealized blonde, blue-eyed girls, even though they are average looking.
I understand that totally. I have to complain though, because I do remember it, because I have friends. I love you guys, but you roast me a lot. And they, if you're watching or listening to this, when I studied abroad many years ago in Spain, and then coming back to the US, I was going through this whole, like, I have to live in Europe, all this stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you onto this podcast, because this whole, like, romanticization of Europe, I did participate in that. I did fall victim to it. I'm not going to act like I'm so woke. And there was a time period of my life where I just dated European guys, because I was like, well, they are better than what, like, I experienced growing up in Miami. But, I mean, still, the men in Miami are, like, there's a cesspool there, so sorry, but, like, what's going on? And the majority of them are all Latinos, right? So I was like, oh, like, they just treat women like ass, right? Yeah. And for me, American guys were all just like toast. So I just couldn't really find anything that was interesting over there. And then when it came to this part of the world, I was like, wow, it's so different. Yeah. And then you come to realize once you live here, that it's not all roses.
And what I say about the culture difference, it's so difficult to... I say it now because I'm thinking I was in a really long relationship, and like just learning, for him to learn about my culture took such a long time for him to just even understand. And
did you not like that?
No, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that, but I don't think I have the patience to do it all over again. I don't know if I would like to just like explain everything again, and like just like, look, this is how it works there, and how it works for me, and how I communicate with you. And it's not that I'm crazy, it's just I'm passionate when I talk.
I get that whole I'm passionate and being misunderstood as this like temperamental, spicy, hot Latina.
And it's not and it doesn't only work with like Latinas. I have a couple of friends that they're like from like Mediterranean, like Portuguese, Italian. They also dated like Central European men, and they always have the same problem as me, that is like, because we talk louder, we express ourselves with emotion, it gets translated into aggressiveness when we don't think it's aggressive, because we're used to like being like more like open with our emotions. And here people really think, which is it's not bad or good, like the people here really think before they speak. A lot of people here, just like if they're angry at you, they would literally take like 3 business days to reply to you. They're like a text, like, I need to think about it before like I say something bad and like I attack you, or which is good, but also like
sometimes also it doesn't call for it. It depends on the moment. Like not everything should be thought out like so logical. Like feelings aren't always so logical.
Exactly. Emotions, like it's like they feel like they're not allowed to feel.
Ooh.
in my perspective, I'm sorry, not to generalize
No,
everybody,
it's
but
fine.
it like
It's fine.
like it is how I saw it in
Yeah.
like the experience that I had and the experience that my friends had.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just at the end of the day, it's just people, and like you should not romanticize, and like you should just find someone that like just like balances you out, like even if they're from like the other side of the world or anything, like if it goes with your morals, if it goes with what you like fight for or like you want in a relationship, that's like the person you should go for regardless
of where they come from.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Well, now that we're reaching the end of this conversation, I also don't want to just like also be here like trashing on like where we live, because I think also there are like things that I think we are in a position that we could always just like sit here and analyze, even if it is like our own native countries, to like criticize and talk about. Like it's a healthy thing to do. But I want to end it with this. Like, do you feel like you have a better life here?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, end point. Yeah, like of course I came here for my studies and love. It was like a 50-50 decision, really long story. But I, even after my breakup and after like all of this, I still wanna be here. I still feel like my future, my career, my prospects are so much better here than even in other countries in Europe, I would say. Here you have so many opportunities to grow professionally as a young professional. You graduate and you actually have a job market, even though right now it's kind of difficult. You actually have a job market. If you go back to Colombia, like it's impossible. Even here in Europe, I hear my friends from Italy like doing like I don't know how many internships to
make ends meet, basically.
Yeah, until they're 30 and they get their first junior position. For me, that's insane.
It's insane, but I think you should have a senior position. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy. So for me, I think comparing also because I was living in the US and like I thought at some point I wanted to have a future there. I am happy I didn't do it, because the quality of life that I have here in Germany, the tranquility, the just balance of my work and my travels, and you don't earn as much as the US, but you really, really actually enjoyed your life, I feel like. And even here, like, people are really, like, hard work here. Like, you work a lot, but you also, like, they really care about how you're feeling, how your health is, your mental health is. And, like, if you're not doing good at your job, there's always, like, some feedback rounds. Like, I don't know, like, here, they don't see you as a robot. They see you more as, like, a person. I think in Colombia that happens a lot, too. Like, you work so much and, like...
Yeah, you're exploited.
Yes, you sometimes even work on the weekends and you cannot say anything about it because that's how it is.
Everyone does it. Yeah, it's normalized.
Yeah, and the contracts are crazy. So, I don't know, I here as a young professional, young person, I don't know if I'm going to stay here all my life, but I want to grow.
Now.
I want to grow professionally here and then see where life gets me. Yeah. Because I think, like, for, like, a 26-year-old, I have a pretty good life compared to, like, so many of my friends back home that, like... Maybe they make good money because they were lucky and they got a good contract, but some others like have horrible working conditions and they still live with their parents because like getting independent is so difficult. But of course I come from a position where I'm really privileged because my parents have helped me a lot to just move here, to just come as an immigrant, because I know so many people here that struggle. They come as au pairs and then like I think you can relate to that.
Yes, I can.
They come as au pairs and like they like build their life out of zero.
From scratch. Yeah. From thin air.
And you don't have, and I thankfully didn't have that experience. I have been pretty lucky in that sense. So I think I have a better life here. Put it that way.
Well, thank you for being on this podcast.
Thanks for having me, Barbie. Yeah. So excited that we talked about this. We always have these conversations over the phone and then like we make it like a kind of now a reality.
It is a reality. So thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in all the way to the very end. You are a real one. And yes, if you want to follow the podcast, we're on Instagram, on my personal TikTok, so I'm not, find it, you'll find it for sure. You could stream this podcast on Spotify, Apple, and every other streaming platform, and as well as on YouTube. If you are watching, well, don't forget to hit the notification bell, what is it? How does it go again? Like, rate, and subscribe. Whatever. This is it. Again, I'm not a YouTuber. There you go. And yeah, any shameless plug moment?
No, no, I don't know.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, I have to give people a moment. So
no, thank you.